This is the PowerNotes. This is the PowerNotes tutorial. Produced by SoftEasy Software. This tutorial has been divided into sections. In this way, you can jump ahead to just the sections you feel you need work on. Let's take a look at a keyboard. Keep in mind your keyboard may not look exactly like the one shown. The bar highlighted here is known as your space bar. You use the space bar to put spaces between letters. If we take a closer look at the left side of the keyboard, we can see what's actually written on these keys. To capitalize a letter, hold down the Shift key, highlighted here, then type that letter. If you push the caps lock key down, it will stay locked down and all the letters that you type afterwards will be capitalized. The button that says Option on it is called the Option button. The button with a picture of an apple and a clover leaf on it is called the Command or Apple key. Now let's take a look at the right side of the keyboard. The key highlighted here is called the Delete key. Some people will refer to this key as the backspace key. This is the Return key. The key highlighted here is an extra Shift key. Use whichever one you feel more comfortable with. And this key is called your backslash key. Now let's take a look at your mouse. The mouse allows you to control the pointer that appears on your computer screen. The button shown here on the top of your mouse is called the mouse button. When you push this mouse button down, it's called clicking. Also notice that there's a cable that comes out of the top of the mouse. If you move your mouse towards the point where the cable plugs into the mouse, it's always moving the mouse up, regardless of where your mouse is in relationship to your computer. Moving your mouse this way causes it to move to the left. Going this way moves it to the right. Moving away from the cable and the button on the mouse causes the cursor to move down the screen. The reason that the mouse moves this way is simple. The movement of your cursor is controlled by a ball that's located inside of your mouse. As you move the mouse, the ball rolls in the direction that you move it. If you lift your mouse into the air and then move it, you'll notice that the pointer no longer moves on the screen. This is because the ball is no longer in contact with the surface upon which it can roll. Again, here are the different directions in which the mouse can move. After a while, you'll move your mouse without even thinking about it. Take some time to get used to your keyboard and mouse. Before we learn about PowerNotes, we need to learn a little bit more about how to use your computer. Before we learn about PowerNotes, we need to learn a little bit more about how to use your computer. In this section, you'll learn the basic concepts involved in using your Macintosh computer. The screen shown here is known as the desktop. The arrow moving around on your screen is called the pointer. This arrow is controlled by the mouse. The desktop screen is the main screen of your computer. It's the screen that comes up when you turn your computer on. In this section, we'll be working on the desktop. First, we'll take our pointer and place it over the rectangle over the words hard disk. Then we'll click our mouse button twice. This is called a double click. Double-clicking on the hard disk causes it to open. Double-clicking on the hard disk causes it to open. The hard disk is the place on your computer where all of your information is stored. When we open the hard disk, a box appears showing us the contents of the hard disk. This box is called a window. Let's take a closer look at the different parts of a window. The top part of the window, shown here, is called the title bar. If you position your pointer over the title bar, then click and hold the mouse button down, you can move the window to a new location simply by moving your mouse. When you let go of the mouse button, the window will appear in the new location. To put the window back where it was, we simply do the same thing. Position our pointer over the title bar, click and hold the mouse button down, move the window to its previous location, then let go of the mouse button. Now let's take a look at the close box. You use the close box to close a window. To close a window, position the tip of your pointer over the close box, then click one time on your mouse button. This will cause the window to close. To reopen the hard disk window, we take our pointer over and click twice on the hard disk. The zoom box, located in the upper right-hand corner of your window, is used to automatically change the size of a window. Clicking once in the zoom box causes the window to become as small as it can be while still showing all the items inside the window. Clicking again in the zoom box causes it to revert to its original size. Unlike the zoom box, the resize box, located in the bottom right-hand corner of the window, allows you to manually change the size of a window. If we place our pointer over the resize box, then click and hold our mouse button down, we can change the size of the window. When we let go of the mouse button, the window will become its new size. One of the reasons why you may want to change the size of a window is so that you can see other items that are on your screen. Note that when we make the window smaller, the bars on the sides of the window become dark. These bars are called scroll bars. Each scroll bar contains 2 scroll arrows, and 1 scroll box. Scroll bars are used to move throughout a window. If you put your pointer over a scroll arrow, then click and hold the mouse button down, you'll notice that the contents of the window move in the direction that the arrow is pointed. You can also move throughout a window by clicking once on your scroll box, holding your mouse button down, and moving in the direction that you wish to move. When you let go of the scroll box, you'll jump to that new position. Now let's resize the window. Notice that when we resize the window, the scroll bars disappear. Next, we'll be talking about the menu bar. The menu bar is a list of items located at the top of your screen. These items contain lists of commands that you can use on your computer. The menu shown here is called the desktop menu because it's the menu bar that is used with the desktop. Your menu bar will change depending on what you're doing on your computer. The menu item shown here is called your Apple menu. The other menu items are the File menu, the Edit menu, the View menu, the Label menu, and the Special menu. The question mark is the Balloon Help menu, and the Applications menu. Now let's see how menus work. If you place your pointer over a menu item, then click and hold your mouse button down, a list of the commands within that menu will appear. If you continue to hold the mouse button down, you can move down the list of commands. As the pointer moves over each command, it becomes darkened. Notice that the gray items don't become darkened. This is because these commands are not available right now. To select one of the commands, let go of the mouse button while that command is darkened. When you let go of the mouse button, the command that you had selected will flash 3 times. Then that command will be performed. In this case, since we had selected Close Window, the hard disk window is closed. Now if we go to the File menu and select the Open command, the hard disk will open. This performs the same action as double-clicking on the hard disk. Now let's talk a little more about Windows. If we double-click on the PowerNotes folder, the PowerNotes window will appear. This window shows us the items that are inside the PowerNotes folder. Notice that the hard disk window remains open behind the PowerNotes window. Because the PowerNotes window is on top of the hard disk window, the PowerNotes window is called the active window. If we click once anywhere on the hard disk window, this window will become the active window. The PowerNotes window goes behind the hard disk window. Each one of the items inside the hard disk window is called a folder. They even look like little manila folders. The items inside the PowerNotes window aren't all folders. Let's talk about what these files are. The item shown here is the PowerNotes application or program. You use a program to do specific things on your computer. For example, putting in patient notes. Like the PowerNotes folder, this item is also a folder. If we were to double-click on it, a window would appear showing us the items inside of this folder. This file is called a document or data file. You can always recognize a document because it looks like a piece of paper with the upper right-hand corner folded over. Now we're ready to learn how to use our PowerNotes program. But before we do, let's review some of the things that we learned in the Macintosh Basics section. This is a window. A window is usually a box that shows us the items inside of a folder. The close box is the small square in the upper left-hand corner of a window. Clicking once on the close box with your pointer causes a window to close. The title bar is located at the top of the window. Clicking once on your title bar and holding the mouse button down allows you to move the location of the window. The zoom box in the upper right-hand corner of the window is a quick way to automatically resize the window. Unlike the zoom box, the resize box, located in the bottom right-hand corner of the window, allows you to manually change the size of a window. Scroll bars are located on the sides of the window. Scroll bars allow you to move around inside of a window. You can move in a window by clicking on the scroll arrows with your pointer. You can also click and hold on a scroll box to move within a window. Notice that as you move in a window, the scroll boxes move along with you. And the last thing we'll be talking about is the menu bar. The menu bar is where you go to find your list of different commands. To bring up a menu, you put your pointer over top of the menu item and click and hold your mouse button. In Section 3, we'll talk about how we get into the PowerNotes program. In order to get into the PowerNotes program, we need to double-click on it. Doing this launches or opens the program. This will bring us to the Enter Password screen. PowerNotes is a password-protected program. In order to get into the program and access the information, you need to enter a password. Let's take a closer look at the password screen. There are basically two parts to this screen. You enter your password in this box, and you click on who you are up here. The flashing line here is known as your cursor or insertion point. Whatever text you type on your keyboard appears here. You'll notice that when you type in text in the password screen, padlocks appear. This is so no one can steal your password. After we've entered our password, we click once on Practitioner to let the computer know who we are. Then we move our pointer down and click once on the OK button. If we've entered everything correctly, the computer should take us into the PowerNotes program. The screen shown here is called the PowerNotes banner screen. It's the main screen in the PowerNotes program. If we had not entered the password correctly, the computer would not have gone to the banner screen, but instead stayed on the password screen. If this happens, simply delete out the old password by hitting the delete key and then enter in the correct password. Passwords are case sensitive. In other words, if you capitalize your password the first time you put it in, you need to capitalize it every time you put it in. The first thing we'll be learning in the PowerNotes program is how to enter patients. In order to enter a new patient into the PowerNotes program, we need to go to the Patient menu and select Add Patient. Doing this should bring us to a blank patient entry screen. Let's take a closer look at the patient entry screen. The areas in which we'll be entering information are called fields. The area shown here is called the last name field. The flashing line that appears in the field is called the cursor or insertion point. When you type in text, it appears where the cursor is. We'll start off by typing in the last name of the patient. It's not necessary to capitalize because once we move to the next field, the information will be automatically capitalized. Once we're done entering the last name of the patient, we can push either the tab or the return key. Doing this will move us to the next field, which is the first name field. Then we just type in the patient's first name, then push the tab or return key to move on to the middle initial field. The middle initial field is optional. It is helpful to enter the middle initial in case patients have the same first and last name. When entering the street address, you don't need to capitalize, but you do need to enter spaces and punctuation wherever you need them. The second address line is optional. You can put things here like suite numbers, P.O. boxes, etc. Then we enter the city name, push the tab or return key to move to the state field, enter the 2-letter abbreviation for the state, and then enter the zip code. Then we enter the city name. When entering the phone number, simply type in the number without using parentheses or dashes. You also have the option of entering a patient's work number. When entering the birthday, you do not need to enter zeros before the days or the months. When you enter this information, you do need to separate the day, month, and year by a slash, a dash, or a space. After you enter the birth date and push the tab or return key, the patient's age will appear here. The next field is used to indicate the patient's gender. You can either use your pointer to click on the correct choice or use the space bar on your keyboard to toggle back and forth between the two choices. Once the correct choice has a black dot next to it, you can move to the next field by pushing your tab or return key. This is where you enter the patient's social security number, not their insurance ID number. Again, you don't have to put any dashes in. The next field is for entering referrals. This information is not required, but it can be helpful to have the referring physician's name when doing thank you letters and operative reports. You can also use it to generate thank you letters. When entering the referral, we only enter the last name. We enter the referral's last name, then push the tab or return key. If the computer does not recognize this last name, a box appears asking us a question. When a box like this appears on the screen, it's called a dialog box. It's called a dialog box because the computer is trying to communicate with you. Usually a dialog box requires you to respond in some way. In this case, we'll respond by clicking the Yes button so that we can enter a new referral. Now we're brought to a blank referral entry screen. We'll use this screen to enter all the information in that relates to this referral. You don't need to enter this information in now, but it can be helpful when creating thank you letters and patient referral forms. Once we're done, we'll click the OK button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. This will bring us back to the patient entry screen. We only have to enter this information one time. The next time we enter this last name into the referral field, this information will be linked to it automatically. The last field on the patient entry screen is called Patient Notes. This is not where we'll be entering our operative notes. This is simply a place where you can put information about this particular patient. Think of it as a sticky note on your patient file.